Ladies and gents, welcome to Richard, Grannon and Friends. I have today with me Mr. Mohamed Kader.
Hello.
Sir. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me here.
Who is Mohamed Kader? What is Mohamed Kader?
All right.
Where are you from?
I'm from Iraq, and I grew up in New Zealand.
Mm-hmm.
And
How did that come to be?
well, we needed passports because the Iraqi passport is horrible,
Okay.
and
Well, you just don't like the color, or
we just don't like what it does. It just doesn't let you go anywhere, and people look at you weird and just get searched.
right?
So long story short, it was either New Zealand, Canada, or some other place where most Arab immigrants would go. We picked New Zealand.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because it just seemed like it was further away from everyone else.
Okay. Which it really is.
It really is. Yeah, yeah. So we moved there. It was just
What year did you move?
Oh, I don't even remember. I was too young.
You were a kid.
I was a kid. Yeah.
What year were you born in?
1993.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there was reasons to not live in Iraq.
Yeah.
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 So your earliest memories will be as a Kiwi.
Yeah. And I loved it there.
Yeah.
It was actually really nice. Yeah. The whole culture was very accepting. There was a clear distinction that I always felt between these are the Maoris, these are the Kiwis, and these are everyone was a Kiwi, but these are the Maoris. It was very influential in my upbringing, and I really felt like I belonged there, even though I didn't even speak much English. And I learned, as a kid, you learn languages much easier. So I learned English, and then and that was it. Yeah, New Zealand,
Whereabouts in New Zealand were you?
Auckland.
Where in Auckland?
I was in an area called Albany.
Albany.
Yeah.
Which I worked in.
Which is insane. And we had as immigrants move to any country, they'll usually bond amongst themselves. So we had really good friends in Browns Bay.
Which is where I lived, yeah.
Yeah. And we would always visit them.
It's cool.
Yeah. Browns Bay is nice as well.
Browns Bay is lovely, yeah. I lived in a camper van there, and then I lived on someone's couch.
Oh,
when I
wow.
was being a nightclub bouncer, yeah, trying to survive there. But Albany, there was a bar I used to work, I can't remember the name. There's plenty of bars and clubs around Albany, isn't there?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't remember. I wasn't old enough to really go to any bars or clubs. And also, it was just, for me, it was like school. My mom, it was just my mom at the time, and she was working 2 jobs because she couldn't work as a dentist because, certificates and licensing and that kind of stuff. So just around women all the time. Didn't really have my dad around.
Up until what age?
I was about 11 when moved to Dubai, and then I was with. That was a weird transition going from like nothing bad about it. It was just didn't have like a man father figure around most of the time, and all of a sudden I did. Of course, my father visited New Zealand a few times, and I'd speak to him on the phone. I just always remember really missing him. Like, oh, where's my dad? When's he gonna come? And
So from 2 to 11, your dad wasn't around?
no, I didn't see my dad.
Yeah.
No. Just every now and then he'd visit and talk on the phone. That's it.
And then at age 11, you moved to Dubai, presumably in a much less developed state than it's in now.
Yeah. It was it was really different. It was really different back then. We lived in a really small apartment. It was about maybe as big as this studio, which is tiny. And the reason we lived in such a small apartment was because, as dentists, you'd expect them to be making good money. But the business really plummeted. My dad is not a good businessman. And he's a great dentist. He's a great orthodontist, but really not a great businessman. And he kind of drove the business down unknowingly.
Right.
So yeah, we kind of struggled, and then I went to a bunch of different schools. I went to like an all-Indian school because they were usually a bit cheaper. And then I went to a school called Oxford. Just moved around a lot.
When you went to the schools, they were English-speaking schools?
They were English-speaking schools, yes.
Okay.
Yes. And they were like very strict IGCSEs style schools.
But you'd maintained your Arabic from when you were a kid anyway?
Yeah, but here's the thing. My Arabic was spoken Arabic. and it wasn't really something I could use to read and write.
Okay.
I started reading and writing Arabic really well, I'd say, literally in my mid-20s.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because Arabic is it's a beautiful language. It's very melodic, but it's quite difficult, I would say. It is a difficult language. Yeah. And it was also good to get away from New Zealand and be in Dubai because I felt a lot safer here. Because I told you about the New Zealand kidnapping thing.
Yeah, tell that story.
So when I was in New Zealand, one day I was outside playing and this car comes into the driveway and it had tinted black windows and it was a convertible, but it was a soft top and it was a black soft top and the cover was on top. And I thought, oh, this must be Colin because he has almost the exact same car. Colin being our neighbor, these nice Maori guys. So I wave at the car and then I realized, oh, the windows are black. Something in my gut as a child, I remember thinking that's kind of weird. And I was outside by myself playing. So I took a few steps back and then this big man opens the door and he says, "Get that little boy." And he starts like moving towards me. And I'm like, oh, holy shit. Like, I don't know. I just screamed because I thought I'm going to get kidnapped.
Yeah.
And I ran. Our house was built on stilts and there was a laundry entrance, you could say. Then there was the balcony entrance, which was a little walkway that you have to take to get to. For some reason, I ran down the one that was longer. I had a feeling it would be open. And it was. So I got there. I jumped in. I said, "Kidnappers, they're coming to take me." I was really scared. I think that was like probably the most scared I've been as a child throughout my life. And that caused me like a ton of psychological problems. So I started hearing voices saying people are going to come and get me. I was seeing a therapist. I wasn't given any pills, so I just had therapy. And I was like hysterical. Like my mom would want to leave the house and I'd literally cling on to her and she'd be trying to leave and I wouldn't let her go. So in a way, getting away from New Zealand was also good. Even though I did my therapy and all of that, getting away from New Zealand felt like, oh, I'm completely far away from that.
Did the police ever resolve what was going on, like why they were trying to kidnap you or anything?
Yeah, some service people came in who were involved. I was interviewed by not just police, by like I guess deeper levels of law enforcement, and eventually they put me in the newspaper, and I wasn't sure what happened to that man, whether his intentions were to kidnap or whether his intentions were just to joke with a kid. What he did was quite scary. Yeah, it was quite messed up.
Yeah.
Even now as an adult, as I've grown up, I would never say that to a child ever.
Well, if you saw a guy jump out of a car and say, "Get that little boy and chase him," and you happen to have a tire iron in your hand and you clonked him in the head, you'd probably get away with it by law.
Yeah.
It would be justifiable force. You'd be like, I didn't know he's joking. Like,
yeah, it was scary because his facial expressions were, he wasn't smiling. He was like, "Get that little boy." I remember it so well. It's like a film in my head. But yeah, so it was good to get away from New Zealand in a way.
So good. there was like but that sensation of being terrified was something that stuck with you. The sense of being vulnerable.
Oh yeah. I felt so small, scared, and like almost like electricity had just went through my entire body. It was the first time I experienced something like that. Yeah.
Do you think that it impacted the diabetes?
Yes, it did. I do completely believe that. Interesting you said that. I didn't want to bring up my diabetes because I don't want to make it into like a diabetes talk. But yeah, I feel like any autoimmune disorder, dysfunction in the body, I feel like is caused by trauma, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But that was like my biggest scare. But it could have been other stuff that happened later on in my life that were just as well put me in that, let's call it the adrenalized physiology. I had that a lot. I've had that my whole life, I would say. I've always been a scaredy cat. I've always been scared.
Right.
So maybe that plays into it as well.
You think it's influenced that? You're diabetic type 1?
Correct.
So you're taking insulin shots how many times a day?
I would say anywhere between 4 to 8 times if I'm gonna eat a lot, or if I eat something silly like a tiramisu, like, that could potentially kill me.
I'm flirting with death today, or blindness.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
But it is a tasty tiramisu.
Or a Snickers bar, or a Twix. Yeah.
So I remember that was one of the things we were talking about was when you found out that I was friends with Aunt Bales.
Yeah, and I'm like a fanboy of Aunt Bales.
And he's well known within the diabetic community as well, isn't he?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if you have type 1 diabetes and you work out, you're probably gonna know about any other athlete that has type 1 diabetes. Yeah. Like it's because it feels like a lonely disease because not everyone gets it, and I don't expect people to get it because no one's gonna go and like read up about hypoglycemia or hyperglycemia. Like, doesn't make sense, you know. It's outside of your paradigm of reality. Why would you?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's nice to connect with others or see others doing awesome things. So yeah, Aunt Bales, I'm a fanboy. Yeah.
I only have any access to him whatsoever through the privileged position I have as a YouTuber talking about narcissism. So I have links to people who are like quite well known.
Yeah,
like there's
different walks of life.
Well, there's literally there's no justification for it. I'm like, yeah, just because I told the guys in the gym I'd been friends with them for about 3 years and I didn't tell anyone.
Yeah,
I'm like, yeah, Aunt Bales. So like, what do you mean? You follow him on Instagram? I'm like, no, he's my mate. He WhatsApps me like at least once a week. They're like, what?
Yeah.
So, you have an athletic background. What was the first sport that you engaged in?
Rugby, and I sucked at it.
Yeah?
Yeah, because there were these big Maori kids who grew up way faster than I did, and I kind of stopped growing at, I don't know, 12. Like, I'm 5'6".
There were some sturdy boys, eh?
Yeah, there's some sturdy big boys.
Big boys,
Get him,
eh?
Taylor. Yeah, and I remember Taylor being this really strong Maori kid.
Yeah.
And I would just look at him and I'd be amazed, like, what does he eat? What does he do?
You're 11, he's 11.
Yeah, but like he's massive. And his dad wore like, you remember those sunglasses that go like one piece? His dad was just super cool. Yeah. I'm like, what did he just like, yeah, here's my son, he's cool also. Like, I didn't get it, you know? So Taylor, if you're watching this, 8 billion people on the earth, and if Taylor happens to stumble over this,
you never know, G.
You never know, G. Yeah.
When I was working in New Zealand, I worked for it was the two owners. One was Samoan, one was Maori, and I asked for work with them because I had a Maori friend there, and they're like, "Oh, you'll be the first white guy we've ever employed, you know? Eh? You think you can hang in there?" But they were really nice, really, really sweet,
very nice people.
Really took care of me.
I love the Islander people. I'm talking about Polynesian. So Maori, Samoan, Tonga. They're just really nice. They're very laid back, chilled out. And very, very loving people, very welcoming, very proud of their culture, which is nice to see.
Yeah. I was kind of on my own there a little bit in New Zealand, struggling financially. And they just kind of took me in a little bit. Yeah. So take care of you, invite you to dinners, barbecues, and all that kind of thing. It was really cool. So rugby was your first exposure to athletics?
And I ran away from the ball. I'd get the ball and I'd be like, no, I don't want it. And then for some reason, because my mom would be like, very like, come on, go, be a man, play rugby. I'd be like, she'd clearly see me running away from the ball, but when we'd get home, be like, did you see how amazing I played? Wasn't that great? And she'd be like, yes. Rugby was the first one. And then the first sport I actually really enjoyed was like cross-country running.
Right.
So they would do these things where we'd do a race and we'd just run. And I remember even till today, I'm very sensing in regards to like, I'm in tune with my own body quite a bit. And I remember the sensations of like putting on my shoes, putting on my shorts, and then getting in the car, like the anticipation building up, getting to the race and really enjoying the running process.
Oh, that's cool.
And that's something I think even with like boxing or martial arts, it kind of uses the same energy system of, constantly having to go. Yes. And I like that because I can forget about my life and just run.
Well, the thing, I don't run much, as you might be able to see. And where I have done it, I have found it's quite meditative. It's quite soothing. Once you get past the pain and everything, it's quite pleasant.
Yeah.
So You did box, but football was your first love.
Yeah.
Did you call it soccer?
No,
Would you call it soccer here? Or?
No, football.
Everybody calls it football.
Yeah, everybody
here.
calls it football.
Okay.
Yeah. Football was it was this beautiful game that I fell in love with simply because it literally felt like you could express yourself. It was a dance, and there's nothing feels better than just getting better at football, scoring amazing goals, dribbling past the player. There was a certain rush to it. And there was a certain love that I had for football that no other sport till today stole my heart like football. And it also provided this dream of, if you're good enough, you could become a professional football player, and you could pay all your bills, and you could have nice hair, and your hair won't fall out. Well, all of that went to shit. My hair did fall out. I didn't make it as a pro, but it still gave me so many valuable lessons.
Yeah. What valuable lessons did you learn from football?
No one cares how you feel about something in the real world. It's what you can do. It's not about living out your dreams. That's a weird idea.
Yeah.
That's a strange idea. And enjoy your youth. Enjoy every moment.
Right.
Yeah. Just enjoy. That sounds very generic. Enjoy every moment.
Be yourself.
Be yourself. Allow the magic to unfold in the moment. Reground yourself. I hate that generic stuff, but yeah, I guess it provided me with an outlet, kept me out of. I never drank growing up. I never did drugs. I never really fell into any bad habits that could have damaged me even more. Firstly, because of my diabetes, I was always scared to do anything. Secondly, because I loved football so much, and I kind of based my whole identity around football.
Yeah. So, how did you get into boxing? Because you were doing football up until the age of 20, right?
Yeah, so I was trying to go pro. So that involved being part of various development squads. And I did really well. I wasn't a bad player. I was good. It's just the grassroots system at the time here wasn't that great.
Okay.
I was involved in various academies, and then I was even involved in a professional football club here. I was there for about 3 months, and then they told me to leave. Yeah.
That is hurtful.
That is hurtful. And they told me to leave because they said I had a problem with salt. The coach clearly didn't understand that it was sugar.
Right.
I even got a okay from the doc, but they just didn't want me, and that's okay. He was an idiot. He had this big, like, lion-looking mane of hair, and he always said, "Oh, Mohamed, warm up," and I'd be like, okay, and I'd score goals, but he just hated me.
Okay.
I think it's because I pissed him off one day.
What did you do?
He said it's salt, and I said, no, it's sugar. You should read up about it. And then I said it.
You're a coach.
Yeah.
Don't be a fucking dumbass.
Exactly.
Diabetes has not much to do with salt.
Not much to do with salt. So yeah, I started boxing when I was about. I was exposed to it when I was about 16, 17 through a Russian trainer called Anton, who
here in Dubai.
And he was probably the first impressive coach I saw. He had, like, I don't know, massive biceps. He'd show up every day at work at 6 a.m. He'd swim, he'd train his clients. And I thought, I want to be like this guy. He was this super positive, super upbeat, always smiling, always interested in you as an athlete and as a young man. And he kind of played almost like a big brother figure for me. And he exposed me to boxing, just mitt work in the gym, nothing serious. And then I liked it. And then I kind of took out my frustration of not being pro. I'm like, I'll just take all of my desire to excel at something, because I love sports. I'll just take it from football, put it into boxing.
Yeah.
And I just kept boxing.
Yeah.
I started boxing a lot. It also helped because I was picked on a lot in school. A lot. I mean, I was bullied so much where I would literally be crying myself to sleep every single night. This is before I got diabetes, praying I don't go to school the next day. It was really bad.
Because the bullying?
Yeah, the bullying was really bad.
Here in Dubai?
Yes.
Whomst was doing it?
Literally everybody would bully me.
Wow.
I was the class loser.
At what age was that?
From grade 6, from grade 4, I remember being bullied. up until grade 9, I was bullied. So I was literally when I got here, when I was about 11, I was bullied until I was about 14, 15. Bullied really badly. Yeah, like they'd spit on me. They would, they'd draw dicks in my books. And I'd open it up and I'd be like, oh. Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys. And I'd be like, yeah. They would, just humiliate me in front of everyone. So boxing helped. It gave me a sense of, I didn't even need to fight, but it gave me a sense of security of, okay, I can defend myself if I need to.
When did the bullying stop?
The bullying stopped when I got diabetes, probably because these guys felt sorry for me, or like if they pushed me too hard, I'd die.
And they could see you taking shots.
And they could see me taking shots, which I didn't like because I didn't want sympathy. I just wanted to be accepted as another guy. I understand that some kids will bully others because it's a time when they're like, 14, 15, like their testosterone's peaking. There's girls, they want to be cool and seen. So they go to the nearest, easiest objective, which was me, because I'd say yes to, like, if they would bully me, I would never fight back.
Do you mean like when Christian Bale bullied me?
Yes. Can you tell them about that story?
Christian Bale bullied me. I'm coming for you, Bale. I only figured out who the fuck you are just the other day.
Just the other day. Crazy story.
So the bullying was physical, it was psychological, and it was humiliation.
Yeah.
You said you were the class loser.
Yeah.
How do you think that happened? How do you think you got to that point?
So one thing that helped me was I was kind of funny. But I was also very small and short. I still am small and short. And I would use my humor to help me, but at times I would be so tired of having to be funny, I just wanted to sit down and just go to school, like not have to use this shield of humor. And I became the class loser probably when they saw that I was too scared to defend myself. Why was I scared to defend myself? I remember being so close to getting into a fist fight. My heart would beat out of my chest and I'd start crying because I'd just be scared. Of what? Of them beating me up. So they were just like, haha, he cries right away, beat him up more. And then I'd just get, either way, I'd get beaten up. I'd get spat on. I'd get, the spitting on was really annoying because these little kids, their breath stunk like shit. And when they'd spit this giant loogie on me, I'd be like, ugh, covered in this gunk. Anyway, that's really descriptive. But yeah. And then the girls sympathized for me because we weren't in a mixed school, but they kind of thought I was cute. And I didn't know if they thought I was cute because I was this little, vulnerable, oh, let me take care of him, poor guy, or if they thought I was actually cute. Probably it was a bit of both. And then eventually I started, to cut a long story short, I started boxing. I didn't feel afraid anymore. And I started to feel more and more like a quote unquote warrior. The discipline of training, the knowing, I was excited. I'm like, wow, I can get better at this. There's a whole skill set that I can unlock. So fighting isn't about how big I am or how maybe size does help a little bit, but fighting is a skill. I can work on that regardless. And I started to do that and it was amazing. It was a really good feeling.
Size definitely helps, but a left hook is a left hook. I mean, it's hard to put muscle on your chin.
Exactly. Exactly.
I'm in that mid-level, so I've had fights with bigger guys, smaller guys. I've been beaten up by both. So I'm like, yeah, you shouldn't take anything for granted. Did you end up having to fight in school? Did you end up having to use your boxing ever, or no?
Never.
No.
Never had.
Your confidence just changed and it stopped.
Yeah. And I started to, I think that was the age as well where, because I was quite socially awkward, I didn't know really how to interact with girls or with guys. I had like very few friends, real friends, not people who just laugh at me because I was funny. I had very few friends and I didn't know how to talk to girls in a sense where I didn't know how to build bonds with girls. I felt like there were these other creatures, and maybe that's normal for someone in their teens.
It's frequently reported. I don't know how normal it is, but it's definitely frequently reported. Yeah.
So I started reading about like conversation and persuasion and all of this. I got into a little bit of PUA stuff as well. because I just wanted, to be honest, I just wanted to be loved and seen. That's all I wanted. I became more socially skilled. And
that helped you make friends with men?
It did. And I found myself being able to talk and connect with anyone. Obviously, over time, it was almost a skill that was developed. But I really do enjoy speaking with people. I enjoy walking into a room and networking with people, not out of anything, but just out of, it's fun to talk to people.
Sure.
And that kind of became a skill that served me in my career. I mean, I connected with you because I sent you a message in the first place. And yeah, that's about it. Yeah.
Why did you send me a message? Tell the nice people at home why you would send Richard Grannon a message. What fun, nice, pleasant story is behind that?
Oh, it's such a good story. I love it. Yeah, wow. So I sent you a message right after I had somewhat left a specific type of relationship that was not good for me.
What type is this?
So this woman that I was involved with was quite abusive. She was nuts, man.
What was happening?
So I met her. I met her on social media, and we had this instant quote unquote spark. And the prelude before that is before I met her, I was feeling very much like I'm about to meet someone important. I had this gut feeling. I had finished reading a book called The 40 Rules of Love by Elif Shafak, which is a beautiful book. It parallels the story of Rumi and Shams of Tabriz, played out in a modern day drama as well. And like two stories intertwined, two timelines intertwined. And I remember sitting on a bench thinking, I'd love to meet someone where I could experience these rules of love with. It was an interesting time in my life. I also now know, as I've matured, that I was just really lonely and I was craving intimacy.
How old were you?
I was in my early 20s. I was probably about 24 at the time. 24, 25 maybe. 24. And lo and behold, I at the time was posting quite frequently on Instagram, and I was trying to build an online presence. I didn't really know what I was doing. I just thought, I love boxing and I love training. Let me just share my passion. And I've also studied film, so I would make quite cinematic, engaging videos on the internet. Eventually, I met this girl on Instagram, and immediately there was some sort of spark, like any two people who interact. And we literally did not stop talking for about a month. During that, 2 weeks into the conversation, she told me that she loved me. Here I am thinking, wow, I've hit the jackpot. I've met a girl. She tells me she loves me 2 weeks in, and we're meant to be, blah, blah, blah. That's not really healthy, and that's not really what should have been happening. 2 weeks is quite a scarily short time. We meet, and the first month in, I would say, was very intense. If I could put it into words how this relationship felt, it felt like a relationship which would typically go at 60 kilometers per hour was operating at 200 kilometers per hour. I had no space to think. I was only feeling. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? I don't know. It's what was happening.
Sounds bad to me.
Yeah. Yeah. Eventually, the abuse started, and I was very shocked. It felt strange. It felt alien. And it started in the smallest of things. Like, I remember putting on a shirt, and she said, "Oh, that looks like an ugly shirt. Why don't you change it?" No one's ever said that to me, and it felt weird the way she said it to me. Like, "Oh, it's an ugly shirt. You look kind of cheap." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." That was the first thing I even remember.
There's ways of communicating anything.
Yeah.
Babe, the other shirt just makes you look so much hotter.
Yeah.
Something.
Yeah. And it went from that to me eventually. How I found you was I was Googling my girlfriend loves me one day and hates me the next. And then I remember Googling extreme rage from girlfriend. What does that mean? Because the rage was something, it was so strange. It was almost like there was this bubbling rage under her skin. Like if you could imagine her blood being boiling literally right under her skin. And the minute I touched something, or the minute I looked at her wrong, the minute I said something a specific way, it would be unleashed onto me. And it was like she was talking to me and she was also talking to someone else. Like she was saying things to me that just didn't make sense.
Who do you think she was talking to?
I have no fucking clue.
Was it her dad? And fuck you, Dad. I mean, Mohammed.
Yeah, it was so dark. It was so dark. And I remember distinctly the gaslighting, which I came to know being called gaslighting, where I started looking up, my girlfriend said something that isn't. That's how I came to it. Because she'd say things to me, but then they would be not. She would make them untrue. And I would believe her. But then I would be thinking, hang on a second, but she meant this. And then I thankfully had the internet at my disposal, and I found a video of you. And there was a video, I think it was 10 traits to find out if your partner is a narcissist, something like that, I remember.
Covert narcissism.
Covert narcissism.
As I was living with a covert narcissist when I made that,
Yeah. Oh, really?
That's
interesting.
In Sweden. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It was one of the first videos that went really, really viral.
It was that one. And then I went through your channel. I started going through almost every single video. I just binge watched them. And I realized, oh, okay, it seems to me that she's a narcissist. I was living in a constant state of fear. I'm already a light guy. I weigh about 70 kilos when I am eating well and exercising well. I was about 59 kilos at the time. I became a shade of myself. I knew that she was a narcissist about 6 months in. I left her almost 9 months or almost, but then I went back. So it lasted about a year.
Why'd you go back?
She brought me back with sex.
It was that good?
It was that anxiety-inducing. Yeah.
Who doesn't want anxiety-inducing sex?
Yeah, looking back.
I can't come without it.
Exactly. I was, I felt like if I didn't have sex with her, I was not worthy of any other woman, and that she was the only one that, and I also believed that she might change. And right when so she did a bunch of things. I mean, she cheated on me, sent me the videos and the pictures, and made sure I was to know that she was cheating on me. I remember one day I was crying on her sofa because I felt horrible. I felt so trapped. I felt like I was in a nightmare. I literally felt like I was in a nightmare. And she called up next to me and she said, "Do you feel like killing yourself?" And I said, I wasn't even thinking of that, but I said, maybe. And she said, "Is it because of me?" And I said, I don't know, maybe. And she said, oh. And that's when I had goosebumps, because I felt like
she got something from that.
She got something from that. It's almost like she got a fix from it. I watched your videos. So yeah, I ended up. One thing that helped me was seeing another man talk about it. Seeing another man talk about it made me feel a bit more safe. I felt like, you know what? She's doing all this. I don't need to list things down. I think we're all quite clear about what the abuse is like, the reactive abuse, the feeling isolated as hell, me trying to help her of not having a breakdown, and then she tells me that I always do this and that I'm the cause of all of her stress, and then I say, okay, what do you need me to do? I'll do anything.
So it helped you to see me talk about it?
Helped me a lot to see another guy talk about it, especially a guy who felt relatable, because you worked out, you looked like someone I could talk to. You weren't some guy wearing glasses and a suit saying, narcissism is gonna break you. You know, it didn't feel like that. So it felt good to speak to someone. I put out my hand to fist bump. Yeah, don't leave me hanging. Yeah,
I didn't know what that was.
Fist me.
That was such an uncertain gesture. Like that. That's what you want. Deep penetration with the fist. So I cannot.
Okay, so
please fist bump me.
May you? Yes. Geez, look at me. People pleasing, even as I'm trying to
talk about
my people pleasing. Yeah. May you? It's okay. You don't need to. I'll just kill myself. So, yeah. So what helped me a lot was seeing another guy talk about it. What helped me a lot was learning about the condition. What helped me a lot as well was humor.
Yeah.
Humor helped me a lot because then I just put things in perspective. I started seeing her reactions as crazy. I started recording her, playing it back to myself and realizing, oh, she's just fucking insane. Because I'd call her up and say, hey, love, I've booked us a vacation. We're going to go there. It's on your weekend. I've arranged everything. And we can always change the time if it's bad for you. Her reaction would be, don't you fucking ever book at something without me. Do you understand? And I remember even being in the car thinking, whoa, my ear's starting to hurt from how loud this is. And I'd be shitting my pants. This visceral fear would creep down inside of me. And
just like childhood.
Just like childhood, exactly. Because my mother was very domineering. And she beat the shit out of me at some points. I remember one time she slapped me so hard I had a big lump next to my eye. And when I went to school in New Zealand, they're like, what's happening at home, Mohamed? And I'd be like, I fell on a chair. They're like, where was the chair? I'm like, the chair was upside down with the legs standing up. And I tripped and fell on it.
Like this.
Yeah, seriously.
Like you do.
Like
you never did that?
Exactly. And they were like, yeah, whatever. Anyway,
I had the same thing in the same place. But my mum hit me into the door frame. So I went because she was playing sport all the time. So she's got quite a strong forearm. Yeah. Strike. She got her hips behind it. Boom.
Yeah. My mom used to bodybuild. Did I tell you that?
Yeah, I think you mentioned
she had like
a
six-pack and like,
damn. Yeah, so when she hit you, you knew about it.
Oh, yes, I knew. Yeah, everybody in the mall knew too. Yeah. She literally hit me and she slapped the damn balance out of me because I was like, ooh. Everything's spinning around. Anyway.
Shouldn't be laughing about child abuse. I don't know why I'm laughing.
Yeah, it's fine. I'm laughing.
It's a safe space, everybody.
It's mine. Yeah, it's fine. So, yeah, I was terrified. Eventually, I saw your videos. I wrote down on a board the day that I'm going to have to leave her. I set a deadline for myself. And I logically proceeded to go through every single scenario. The first time I broke up with her, she threatened to kill herself. And she told me that whatever, I remember the phone call, she said, whatever happens to me now is your responsibility. And I told her, you are guilt tripping me. Please don't do that. And I did stay with her because I was scared she was going to kill herself. So what did I do? I used your advice, which is when communicating with the insincere, you must be insincere or something.
Yeah, abandon sincere communication when communicating with the insincere.
There you go. Yeah. So I used that advice and I made sure that she was out with her friends. I made sure that she had a support system of 2 people. And then I broke up with her on the phone. I didn't go and see her in person. She contacted me many times afterwards. And then I just didn't answer anymore. I was also quite attached to her. I kept checking on her on social media to see if she's okay. She was fine.
Funny that.
She was more than fine. She got married like 6 months later, and then he shared the same fate, I guess.
What do you think were the lasting effects of that relationship on you?
Oh, wow. I didn't become a better person afterwards. I feel like I became a worse person.
In what way?
So she cheated on me.
How many times did she cheat on you?
I don't remember.
But she was literally sending you pictures of her with other guys.
She told me that if I didn't let her have sex with other people, that she was going to have a nervous breakdown. And I told her, please don't do that. While I'm at work at my office job, and I just get images of her having sex. I'm like, oh, that fucked me up.
It's a weird adrenalized lunch for you.
Weird adrenalized lunch. I remember taking a lunch break to go cry in the bathroom. And then because our work was so heavy, we worked very demanding jobs. I worked in a digital marketing agency. The guy heard me crying in the next stall, and he said, hey, Mohamed, just after you cry, can you please send that email? And I just, no, you can laugh. It's funny. It's funny. He's like, and he said in Arabic, he's like, Abu Ahmed, best khalas baki. Like, Mohamed, as soon as you finish crying, please send that email. I'm like, okay. Yeah.
Don't jump off the building until that project is finished, please.
Yeah,
one more week. Come
on. which is something I pride myself on, which I'm happy to say I always performed at my jobs. I like to perform well at my jobs, and I feel like work gives me some sense of sanity, which is good. But yeah, I became a worse person. I became distrusting of others. I became, I did not operate like a decent, I did not operate the same way I was before. So before I met her, I was all about fall in love, marry the woman of your dreams, live a good life, etc. After that, I became almost like I'd swallowed some poison, and I didn't believe in any of that. And I just expected the worst from people, and that brought out the worst in me. I never really allowed myself to feel emotionally intimate with others unless they were abusing me. It's really weird.
You're talking to me. It's not weird at all.
Yeah.
This is where I live.
Yeah.
I'm perfectly comfortable here.
Yeah.
I just want abuse.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't like love. It's very uncomfortable.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't like care.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Abuse is better.
Abuse was better. And then I also became, it was all like I was always on edge. If I get a phone call, my heart would always be beating out of my chest. And I was just anxious most of the time. I never felt like I got a good night's sleep after that relationship. In all honesty, even till today, I never feel like I got a good night's sleep. Not directly because of her, but because of the state that I've been in. And I'll fluctuate between feelings of what I would like to call calmness, but what I would now describe as numbness, as I've started therapy. Almost a numbingness towards things around me. And this creeping sorrow that follows me everywhere. So no, I left that relationship feeling horrible. I love people. I love people. I like seeing people happy and stuff like that. But till today, I don't feel like I deserve happiness. It's really made me a lot worse than whatever I was before.
How do you philosophically balance now, knowing that you love people, but you've seen what great evil can exist inside of people? How do you structure your philosophy of life around that?
There are good people and bad people, but it's also not as black and white. Sometimes good people will do bad things, and the road is to straighten yourself out in regards to your actions and your intentions. Just be a good person, man. Be a good person. What's my philosophy around it is also don't be naive. There are really fucked up people out there. There's some really fucked up people, but as much as there is evil in the world, there is also good. And it, in a way, made my faith in a higher power, I'm a practicing Muslim, stronger. Yeah, kind of brought me closer to God.
How does it integrate with an Islamic worldview, the fact that there is such capacity for evil inside of people? What would Islam say about that?
That's this life. There is evil. And you'll be tried. You will be tried through, death, through your riches, through your money. Leaving that relationship, I was so much further in debt. I took out so many credit cards just to sustain what? The lifestyle I had to live with her. And just, it was hellish. But to bring it back to what Islam says, it's expected. This world is not an easy world.
Did anybody ever sit you down when you were growing up, maybe around the age of like 12 to 15, and say to you, like, this world has bad people in it and bad things are going to happen?
Yes, my father. He did. I love my father for that. He always told me to never be gullible. He always would tell me, like, quit living so much with your heart. And I would shut him out saying, oh, but look at you, like, your marriage is shit. Because my dad would periodically leave the house and come back. He wasn't always present. And that's what he would do. He would leave. He'd just leave. He'd pack up and leave. So he did tell me that, but I saw that as an expression of his weakness. I didn't understand it that way. I didn't understand what he meant when he said that to me. As I grew up, I found out the hard way myself. That, yeah, there are really messed up people. And that's okay, because that's the dichotomy. That's life.
Who puts darkness in people's hearts? In the Islamic worldview.
In the Islamic worldview, it's not even about, the devil or whatever. In the Islamic worldview, it's actually nafs, which is yourself. So you must be wary of the evil of your own self. It's not that you're impure. It's that you have a nafs which is also bound to the material world, which will do things in order to further its material gain. But you must remember that there's another life. And that helps me, knowing that there is another life, but also knowing that there's a benevolent creator. What really helped me as well was reading about near-death experiences, because these people from various religions, various backgrounds, all share the same experiences with the same messaging, and it made my faith in a creator much stronger, and that gave me peace.
Do you believe the creator of this world is benevolent?
Yeah, loving.
Loving.
Yeah.
And in Islam specifically, described as merciful?
Yes, most merciful, most beneficent, most merciful. That's every single verse starts with that. And yeah, God is the most merciful. Like Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, which means the merciful. So the attribute of mercy comes from him. Mercy from this life and from everything else. So I seek refuge. I think we had this discussion last time. It's the ability to seek refuge in God. That gives me peace.
With what's your experience been like so far with therapy?
I'm gaining clarity. I'm not yet far along the line where I can say that my life has changed. I am still a complete mess right now in regards to my emotions, in regards to the way I think, and even in regards to the way I live. No type 1 diabetic should have McDonald's at 3 a.m.
No.
No one. But I understand that there's a deeper issue that I need to address here. Therapy is giving me that space to kind of make it okay to take care of myself, because I don't believe I should take care of myself. I believe I should suffer, which isn't. I self-inflict the suffering, which isn't healthy.
It's not healthy. You should let me inflict suffering on you.
Please do. We will go boxing soon.
Not on yourself.
Yes.
I should be able to enjoy that. Is there with your faith and therapy, do they sit comfortably side by side?
Very much so. Yeah, very much so. I don't ever see these things in conflict. Matter of fact, I see that the more I'm able to get rid of or process or whatever terminology you want to use, my constant guilt and self-loathing, the more of a full human being I'll be able to be. And the more I'll be able to help my family, be there for my friends when they need things, and just be at peace. I just want peace inside of me right now. I don't really want anything else other than peace. I don't want to constantly feel like I'm going to cry, or I'm going to, or I don't know what the next emotion is going to be and how I'm going to react to it. It's really tiring living like that. So I'm looking forward to feeling calm.
Do you think it's important to have the therapeutic process to be able to open up and share with another adult what's locked inside of you?
Yes, and I would not need to live in the shadows. I live my life constantly in the shadows, and I'm tired of that. I want to be able to say how I feel, but also I want to feel better. I'm tired of feeling like shit all the time and hating myself and almost constantly like whipping myself for, ooh, kinky.
We should where is it done? It's Shia Islam where the self-flagellation happens.
Yeah.
Where do they actually physically do that though?
Yeah.
Which country do they? There's only one place where they go hard with this though, right?
Iraq, because that's where his shrine is.
Oh, okay.
Iraq, yeah.
So when I've seen video clips of people hit themselves with chains with things on them and they open their own backs up, that's Iraq I'm looking at.
Mostly Iraq, sometimes Pakistan, sometimes Iran, but mostly it's in Iraq.
What is in the future now for Mr. Mohamed Kader?
I would like to first and foremost sort myself out, and I'm really looking forward to that. Thanks to you for all the help that you've given me, and I want to excel in my business. I would like to continue to teach boxing. Maybe I will look forward to releasing some online courses in Arabic.
You teach boxing in Arabic, right?
Teach boxing in Arabic, yeah, on my YouTube channel.
What's that called for people?
Warrior Athletics with an X. Okay. I'll probably put up some English content maybe later, but the market wants Arabic stuff.
It's a good niche. It's a good niche.
It's a good niche, and I enjoy it.
Yeah,
I generally enjoy it. I'd look forward to resolving my issues in therapy. I'd like to get married and just have a regular life, which to me would be a simple, beautiful life, and just live, make money, maybe have some kids, and yeah, that's it.
Let's hope that happens, inshallah.
Inshallah.
Mr. Kader, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks for coming in. We'll do it again sometime. Ladies and gents, thank you very much for your time and for your attention. And I look forward to speaking to you again soon.